Hey guys, this is Mrs. Dominiak, and I'm about to go through the first day of the benchmark tutoring for academic chemistry. So, let me just move this around. You might be wondering what exactly is going to happen with tutoring. So, let's go through what it is first. So, when you have benchmark tutoring, it is 3 days of tutoring and then 1 day of retaking the exam. And what will happen with your grade is if you are a freshman, which most chemistry students are not, it's 100% replacement. Sophomores 80%, juniors 60%, and seniors 50%. So I gave one scenario just so you can see. So for example, if you got a 60% on the benchmark for the first time you took it, and then say the next time you get this 85% and you're a sophomore, this is how you'd figure out your final grade. So you only have to keep 20% of your original grade. 80% of the grade you keep, it comes from the second time you take the test. So look at what happens from someone who went from getting an F to getting a B, and they got an 80% final that goes into the grade book. So really paying attention to tutoring and trying really hard for the benchmark the second time around is really important. So let's start from the beginning when we talk about significant digits. So significant digits are the important digits, those digits that you want to keep in any measurement. So they stay with the measurement whenever you put it in scientific notation too. So we'll get to that later in the lesson. In this measurement, 4.62 milliliters, the 4, the 6, and the 2, they're all significant because they're all non-zeros. So the rules for significance, so which digits are considered significant? How you do is you start on the left. So see how we're reading left to right? You start on the left-hand side of your number. The first non-zero is your first significant digit. That's the first one that you really care about. And then you keep all digits until the very last non-zero digit. So go ahead and just highlight all the way through from the first non-zero, meaning it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So anything, any digit or place that doesn't have a 0. So you're starting from the first one without a 0 all the way till the very last one that isn't a 0. If your number ends in 0, then there's 2 rules you need to check for. If there's a decimal anywhere present in your number, then all of the digits till the end are significant. So that's still from your first non-zero. If there's any kind of decimal, yes, keep going till the very end of your digits. If there's no decimal ever, then you have a whole number that's ending in a 0. Those zeros are not significant. In scientific notation, everything in the coefficient is always significant. So let's go through some examples. Say we have this 5.130 centimeters. So I kept the rules over here if you want to reference them. So when I start from left to right, my very first non-zero here is this 5. And then my 1's a non-zero, my 3's a non-zero. This is a 0. So I'm going to just highlight from my first to last non-zero. I know these are significant. So then the question is this 0 at the end significant? Well, we go over here. Is there a decimal present? So there is or there is not. I look over here, I see a decimal between that 5 and the 1. So because yes, there's a decimal, yes, I get to keep the 0. All of these digits are important in my measurement. How about this one? 0.000492. So what's the first number I said that wasn't 0? 0.0004. Boom. That's your first non-zero. Look to the end. What's your last non-zero? That would be that 2. If you end with a non-zero digit, you're done. Those are all your significant digits. This 4, 9, and 2. Those are the important numbers in this measurement. Those are the numbers that scientists care about when they're reading that measurement. How about this one? 0.030520. What was the first number that I said that wasn't a 0? It was the 3. So you look at your first non-zero and you go all the way until your last non-zero. Now I know there's a 0 in the middle sandwiched here, but my last non-zero was a 2. So I'm just going from my first to last. All of those are definitely significant. So now you look at the end of the 0. Do I keep this last 0? Well, the question is there a decimal or not? And I see that there is a decimal. So if there is a decimal, you get to keep that 0. all of these are significant. How about this one? 65000. My first number that's not a 0 is the first digit I said. That's a 6. My last non-zero is this 5 right next to it. Notice all of the things after are zeros. So the 6 and the 5 are my non-zeros. I end with a bunch of zeros. Do I get to keep them? Well, is there a decimal? That would be this rule. Or is there not a decimal? This rule. There is no decimal. So none of these zeros are significant. They're just placeholders. And we're going to get to that later in the lesson. But right now, just keep track of which ones are significant. How about this one? 2.03 times 10 to the 63rd milliliters. Well, this isn't a funky notation that the other ones aren't like. And we're going to go through later in the lesson what scientific notation is and how to use it. But what you need to know is all this stuff before the times symbol, that's called your coefficient. Everything in your coefficient is always significant. So those are your significant digits in this measurement. Here's a kind of a summary of the rules if you want to freeze this frame and look at it for a bit. Okay, so now it's your turn. You're going to go through these 6 problems and you're going to figure out which ones are significant and which ones are not. So I want you to just highlight the digits that are significant and then freeze the frame while you do it and come back and we'll have the answers. Okay, so you should have frozen and answered the questions, so we're going to go through them. The first one, 5.30 times 10 to the negative 12. Well, that is in scientific notation. So that means that everything in my coefficient is significant. So everything I have here highlighted in blue, those are the only digits that are significant or important in that measurement. The next one, 3001, first non-zero to last non-zero counts all of them. So they're all significant. I have 0.00003802. What was the first digit that I said that wasn't a 0? Well, that was 3. What's the last non-zero? 2. There's nothing after that, so those are your only significant digits. 8,000 kilometers. What's my first digit that's not a 0 is going to be this 8. There's no decimal at the end, so you don't keep the zeros. 7.303, so the first non-zero is a 7, the last non-zero is a 3, it's also your last digit, so all of them are significant. 85.0, your first non-zero is an 8, your last non-zero is a 5. There's a 0 at the end, and yes, there's a decimal, so yes, you get to keep the zeros at the end. Okay. That's it for the first part of this lesson.